Well, I went and had a wee rummage through with regards to the nativity, because we all see the nativity this time of the year, and we all see the little angels, and we all see the little shepherds and everything else. But what amazed me was the fact that what we get as a nativity only comes from two Gospels, because there's only two Gospels where the actual birth of Christ is mentioned. They're both completely separate, they're virtually different. In one group, you've got the wise men, and the other group, you've got the shepherds, sort of almost one extreme to the other. If you think back to the social times, the wise men were the ones who sort of lauded over, and the shepherds were the ones who just walked past the street. I think it actually was quite indicative of the universality, the big spread, of the fact that God wanted everybody. But when it came to looking at it, especially in Matthew's Gospel, where Herod got extremely jealous of the fact that Jesus had arrived and was told that he was the King of the Jews, he went out and he slaughtered all around him. And it got me thinking then it's about the humanness, if you want to call it. We all know about the humanity of Jesus, the compassion of Jesus, but the humanness of Jesus. Big question that was asked, and it's been asked many, many people a long time ago, was why didn't God just create people to be perfect? And the more I thought about the whole nativity, parents doing their thing, but Jesus with his parents and everything else, it got me thinking about family. And obviously Christmas is sort of the calling, or should be certainly more oriented towards family. And to answer the question with regards to why didn't God just create us all perfect, it got me thinking about something which every single person in this room has done, including you guys who are younger. You've all done it. He'll do it. Okay? Have you ever been told, apologise, that's not nice, apologise? Or you've seen a child been told to apologise? How do they do it? They all turn and go, okay, I'm sorry. And there's no meaning behind it. We've all done it, haven't we? Every one of us has done it. We've had a fight with our family, a fight with a brother or sister, and the parent has walked in and says, that's not fair, apologise. Okay, I'm sorry. There was a wonderful quote from my late sister when she was small. She fell out with my other sister. Our Judith was not one to be messed with. She was quite feisty. And my father, she was raging with Ruth, and she was going to kill her, basically. My father said, now come on, forgive her. And our Judith turned and says, oh well, once I've had her. You see? But that's how we end up apologising. But when a child genuinely apologises, when a child comes to you and you can see it in their face that they are genuinely sorry for what they've said or done, you go for it, kid. There's a value to it. Yeah, we've all seen this. When a child comes up and says, listen, I am genuinely sorry. Mummy, I'm really sorry for doing that. Daddy, I'm sorry for washing your car with a Brillo pad. Whatever it may be. But when they come up and they're genuinely sorry, we get the value from it. And I honestly believe that's one of the reasons why God didn't create a robot race, because he wanted value from that repentance. If you can simply build all these robots and go, we think you're great, we think you're great, where's the value? It's as worthless as that belligerent apology. But when people have genuinely turned around and said, look, I'm sorry, I want to go back to the way, we want this union between you and me to be back the way it should have been. There's value to it. And I do believe that's one of the reasons why God went ahead and said, you know what, I'm going to create a race of people, humans who are going to mess it up. So whenever I give them the option, and I give you the option to say, no, I'm not doing it that way, I want to come back and do it your way, I want to recreate that union, there's now value to it. I think that is so powerful, because to me it's the oil that keeps the machine working. It's the fact that repentance and the value of that repentance is absolutely pure in God's eyes as well. Gary's talked before about us humans, how we're made up. We're made up of three things. Can anybody remember the first one?
Spirit.
Spirit. I was waiting for it to come from the back of him. All about the others. Body and soul. Okay. It's all kind of, we've got this nice little mix, but the main thing is your spirit. We were born in a body. We've got a mind and soul. We are in itself a spirit. It's something to carry around. The thing that got me thinking about what I wanted to talk about today was when I looked at the Nativity. Why didn't God just create out of a cave, ta-da, Redeemer? Why did Jesus Christ, God incarnate, come as a human baby? And I couldn't help thinking again of the wide expanse of God's wisdom. If he just come out as a superhero out of a cave like Batman, there's always a sort of an unknown about him. Coming as a child, coming as a baby, as we were all once babies, completely vulnerable, completely dependent, completely incapable of doing anything, but completely human. And this is something that I felt was very, very important about the fact that Jesus Christ was a complete and absolute human. But there was a couple of differences. Jesus, as he stood on this earth, was just like you. He had a body. We know that because it was killed on the cross. Mind and soul. We know that because that's what controlled us as he was going along. But what guided him was a spirit. And that is where the principal difference lies between Jesus Christ the human and us. Because the spirit of Jesus Christ had not been touched by man. There was no sin, there was no corruption of any shape, fashion, or form of sin within the heart of Jesus Christ. I think it's John 14:30. Did I give you that one? Guy? Yep. John 14:30. Okay. I will no longer talk much with you, for the ruler of this world is coming, and this is the bit that nailed it for me, and he has nothing in me. To me, that was the proof of the point about the actual spirit of Jesus Christ. Satan had nothing on him. Satan had no way in. Satan had no influence in any shape, fashion, or form, despite repeatedly tempted Christ, especially when he went out to the 40 days in the wilderness, putting, if you're the Lord, if you are truly the Son of God, turn these rocks into food for yourself. Couldn't get through. The barrier was there. The devil had no power through them. And that was the big principal difference. But still, at the same time, Jesus was completely human. And this is what got me thinking about this. Jesus hadn't fallen. He didn't have that fallen nature that man has. He hadn't been banned and banished from the Garden of Eden. That chair that stood at the gates to keep people back. If Christ approached, he would step out of the road and let Jesus in. Because there was no ban there. And that significance comes on later as we just finish later on. And that's what got me thinking was, well, what was the purpose of Christ to come on this earth in the first place? And if you ask people that, they'll go, oh, so he could pay for our sins. Which of course, yeah, no problem with that. But I believe there's more. And you may think, well, what could be more than paying for the sins of humanity? He could have just come along, again, in the wisdom of God Almighty, he could have come along and said, right, you know what, rubber stamp, there you go, anyone who wants to accept that and take a photocopy is mine. But where's the value? Where's the flavour out of that? I believe one of the other purposes of Christ within his ministry, why did he have a ministry rather than just one big crescendo, was he came to show us what could be done if the design hadn't been damaged in the first place. His spirit had not been corrupted by the guilt of sin. In other words, the fall of man. So whenever Christ came on this earth and said, listen, watch what I'm doing, follow my example, I do believe what he was actually saying was, this is what you can do if you could move closer to being of a spirit similar to mine. Gary prayed a while ago there for healing. Alright? That healing doesn't come through us, it comes because the door was opened by Christ. So when Christ was healing people, and I mean there's a couple of examples there within John, you took a blind man, a paralytic blind man, where Jesus came along to him and said, your sins are forgiven, and he gets reprimanded by the Pharisees and the scribes, because back in the social times, in order to keep a primitive people on the right track, God said, if you do something wrong, the guilt of it will travel not just to you or your children, but your grandchildren. So socially they were sort of saying, well, obviously this person comes from a sinful line. So they were annoyed whenever Jesus turned around and said, your sins are forgiven. And they got quite ugly with him, quite legalistic, quite religionist, if you want to use that. And then Jesus said, well, that's okay, let's do it this way then. Pick your bed up and go home. The guy who was paralysed from birth, and the guy, funny enough, picked up the bed and walked on. Jesus spoke through an unfettered spirit, showing us what could be done, what should have been fit for us to do, for each other and with each other, if we can move that, I'm going to use the term spiritual cholesterol, if you can get that spiritual cholesterol out of that vein and let the blood flow through the spirit, we can achieve so much more. Not because we're doing anything, but because Christ opened that door and said, you know what, I'm showing you this is what you can do. Work towards this. John 8:47, please. He who is of God hears God's words. That stuck with me a wee minute because I thought to myself, right, okay, we all like to think that we are working towards the glory of God. And we are. But it really reinforced to me that you need to listen for God's words as well. It's not just a case of we hear fire sirens and noises in the street, but when somebody speaks to us, we actually need to listen. We need to turn our attention back towards them. And it was all sort of steering me towards this, how do we achieve the example? How do we work towards the example that Christ himself set? This human on earth who was actually showing you what humans were supposed to be designed to do. He who is of God hears God's words. Ultimately, Christ was hearing God's words all the time. He was totally in tune, totally in keeping with the Lord God. He wasn't simply using God, as probably quite a few people do. Gary uses the term, I think it's a great one, as a phone app. You know, bing, bing, all right, thanks very much, put it in the pocket and disappear. One of the examples I sometimes use is the corner shop, where on your way home and your phone rings, and somebody says, bring milk, so you nip in, get milk, thanks very much, and walk out. And all you can carry is your 2 litres of milk, because that's all you're fit to carry. Despite the fact that the shop's holding over 500 gallons of this stuff in the back. We miss out sometimes on the full glory because we simply use God as an app, as a corner shop, as a convenience store, and we're missing out on that full flow that he can give us. So he who hears God's words, he hears of God will hear God's words. Those who don't hear God's words. It's very obvious, it's the flip of the coin, his heads are tails. John 14:12, please. So, working with God's words, most assuredly I say to you, he who believes in me, the works that I do, he will do. And greater works than these he will do, because I go to my Father. That's a promise. That's a statement. That isn't just a fanciful sort of term. That's actually coming directly from the mouth of Christ himself. He's saying, listen, I've set an example. I've shown you that you need to listen to God, you need to work towards God, you need to open that channel between you and the Holy Spirit. Because if you do, I've only had a couple of years. Most of you are going to get an awful lot more than just 3 years. But he's saying if you can work towards this unfettered flow from the Holy Spirit, the stuff that I've done, you do. In fact, you know what? You'll do better than me. And that blows my mind. How can you do better than Christ? But he's telling you in his own words, listen, trust me, you will do better than me. But the works that he's talking about, this is where sometimes there's a bit of confusion. Because people think, well, obviously we don't just get to heaven because of our good works. We've seen too many people, and Christ himself has told us, those who shout, Lord, Lord, will not necessarily get the kingdom of heaven. The works that he's talking about, and this will come in with Revelation later on as well, it's when you're working for God's works. If you're working for your own gratification, you're working for your own glorification, then that's what you're doing, is working for you. I believe when he talks about these works, that I do, you will do also. Because when he did the healing of people, he healed them not only of their physical ailment, but he healed them of their sin. He gave them an opportunity to go and speak on his behalf. He gave them an opportunity to go and testify to people. The blind man at the pool of Shiloh with blood in his eyes, or if you actually read the story of that, he was that determined. He was that, I'm sorry guys, I'm not changing the story here, that they kicked him out of the church. He was basically kicked out of his own society, and he didn't care. He preached that Jesus Christ was the Son of God, and I'm not backing down on this one. And he was just lambasted. And many people in our modern society now are so afraid of the establishment that they'll bow down to it, that they'll give in and they'll go, okay, you're saying that's acceptable, this is acceptable, I have to do this, I have to do that. And we give in. And all we're doing is pulling the barriers back up again. All we're doing is putting that spiritual cholesterol back and it's slowing down the flow, because God's going, do you know what, I'm sorry. I've had to move my fire over to here and put you across there. That was the fall of man. So if you want the heat of this fire, it's up to you to move to me, not the other way around. And sometimes we miss this. And Christ showed us that. Christ showed us the way that through the Holy Spirit, and he sent us the Holy Spirit, he's told us he sent the Holy Spirit to help us. When we can use the Holy Spirit, when we can try and follow and emulate the example of Christ, not just physically in what we do, but within our hearts as to how we do it and why. I genuinely believe that we're bringing ourselves closer and closer to a Christ-like state, because that's what he wanted us to do. Follow my example, move towards me, come closer to that fire and absorb some of that heat. You can then help other people move it on. The devil doesn't like this. The devil doesn't like the fact that you can take your prayer, your heart, your life, and bring it to influence people in the same way as Christ has influenced you. The devil will throw obstacles in your path. But remember this, and this is something that has really come home to me in this last couple of years. The only power the devil has is the power of suggestion. It's the only power the devil has. The devil can't physically intervene into your life and put injury on you. The devil will possibly put the thought process into somebody else, and they may come and do it, but understand from within yourself that the fear of what you think the devil can do, the fear that the devil will ultimately try and suggest to you that he has, it's a false fear. It is a total false fear, because it's based on nothing. It's pure smoke and mirrors. Okay? When I successfully stopped smoking quite a few years ago, it was one of the factors that actually helped me was the realization that it was smoke and mirrors. All the things that you think are a good reason to smoke, they're actually smoke and mirrors. You don't realize that you're actually lying to yourself. You know, oh, I need a fag, I can't survive without a fag. Then you go and you fly to America for 10 hours. And funny enough, you don't go into cold turkey and you don't die. You make it quite successfully because you actually don't need the cigarette. It's just the thought in your mind, the fear of how will I cope without the cigarette. And funny enough, you cope. You cope quite comfortably. You get there and you go, right now I'll have a fag. That's a different argument completely. Alright? But it's this unrational fear. It's not a genuine and a real fear. You think it is, but when you see it for what it is, you suddenly see through it. And it's the same with the devil's fear in you. The devil stopping you, sort of saying, you don't want to talk to them, they'll only shout at you. don't want to preach to those guys, they don't want to give off. And it's a fear that comes in. The reality is that they may turn around and tell you, you know what, clear off. Maybe not quite as plainly as that, but they might do. But you'll never know till they have a go. And this is one of the things, again, that comes back to this human Christ that stepped forward and said, listen, I'm human too. I've no doubt Jesus stubbed his toe, got a stone in his sandal. I have no doubt that he whacked his thumb with a hammer when he was learning how to put in nails. Okay? He felt the same pains and the same heat and the same cold and the same irritations as all of us. But because of that uncorrupted spirit, he was able to deal with them through the Spirit. And that's what he said to us, is listen, bring the Holy Spirit much more into what you're doing. Follow my human example, and you will get so much more humanness out of yourselves. Because there's barriers there, and they're not human barriers, they're spiritual barriers. My spirit didn't have barriers. Yours does because of the fallen nature of human beings. But if you can move towards me, you're going to free up so much of that availability. Matthew 11:29-30, did I get that? Cheers, Johnny. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. There's a wee bit of a myth that we sometimes hear, see, other people. When I get my life to the Lord, everything's going to be great. It's going to be I can sit down and rest and do nothing. It's just going to be wonderful. This scripture, I believe, explodes that. Okay? Well, it explodes a number of different things. My yoke is easy and my burden is light. What's a yoke? Yoke is what you put on a bull to work. So if Jesus is telling you put on his yoke, he's telling you, trust me guys, you're still going to have to work at this. There's no free tea for this one. You still have work to do. But when you take on the yoke alongside Christ, and you've all heard the story there, won't go over it. You've all heard the story, you know this, the whole concept of the old bull gets put along with a new bull, because the old bull will just go steady, go slow, and go straight. And no matter what the young bull tries to do, the big bull will not be pulled out of the road and will keep it on the right path while they plough the field. This isn't just somebody how they walk around the place looking at this, the daisies and isn't that nice? They put this on because they're putting it on to work. So when Christ's telling you to put on his yoke, he's telling you, guys, take on the work, but I'm the old bull. I will keep you on a straight line, but you must work with the yoke. Okay? Because when you put his yoke on, the big bull carries most of the weight, does most of the pulling. All the young one is getting trained to walk in a straight line. So when you put on Christ's yoke to work for God, it's a daily thing. Every single day you get up, you put on the yoke and you move forward and say, okay, where are we ploughing today? But we're ploughing, we're making differences. We're working, we're trying to achieve, we're trying to break up that ground so that it can be used for something else. But we're working for Christ. This is what Christ was saying to you as a human being. And he was using examples that everyone would have known back in the day. Nowadays when we're ploughing a field, it's a massive Ferguson or a great big Ford. But back in the day, everyone would have known how the fields were ploughed and would have understood the concept of this. But the big important thing is the fact you're putting it on to work. But with Christ, the work is easy because he's directing where the work's going to happen. Follow his example as a human being. Follow the examples that he set. And he said before you, here you go. I've already seen, he's told you, what works I've done, you will do greater than these. But take on my yoke and do these works for Almighty God. Move forward. But you're here to work, guys. There's no free ticket. And then we come to the bit about, with regards to the death of Christ. And this got me thinking again about my late sister and other friends out here who have moved on. We've already said Christ had a spirit, we know that. He had a mind and a body, or he had a mind and soul, and he had a body. The body died on the cross. We know that Christ died. And it's not just a case of, we look at the cross and go, alright, Christ died. There is so much other evidence that sometimes we don't read into, we don't see, we don't pick up on the fact that Christ did die. You'll have people who, he didn't really die, they brought him down before he was living. People don't understand how the Roman legions work if they think that was the case. Because the guys who were put in charge of executions, That was their specialism. It wasn't a case of you take them out and kill them. It was, they were handed over. Prisoners were handed over to the execution squad. These guys knew exactly what they were doing. They knew how to prolong death. They knew how to maximise the agony. This was their job. Trust me, they didn't make mistakes. Because the way the Roman Empire worked was, if they made a mistake and it was found out, guess what happened to them? It was meted back out to them. Trust me, they made sure that Jesus was dead. So there's no argument about the fact that the people who were put up on that cross at Calvary, all three were killed. Their life had expired. That is confirmation. There's just circumstances around. If you just purely look outside of the Bible and look at what happened within the Roman Empire, Jesus died. It's obviously in the scripture for us to understand that as well, but look beyond that too. Because the argument cannot be defeated. Jesus Christ was put on a cross and his body expired. But it also came back to life. And that's also documented and testified to as well. Romans 2:11, please. Or turn to Romans, Revelation 2:11, please. We've been looking at Revelation over this last wee while, which is where this sort of gelled in together, and I'm sort of getting towards the end. He who has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says to the churches. He who overcomes shall not be hurt by the second death. The second death. We'll only experience the first death on this earth. Christ only experienced the first death. Because when Christ rose from the dead, he took hold of the keys of hell and said, not anymore, they're mine. I've got control of this now. And what he's saying to you is, if you work towards him, if you follow that example, if you could try and open up that spiritual blood vessel, try and overcome, you will not be hurt by the second death. You'll not even be hurt by it. The thing that got me was when I looked at this, I thought, right, there's a fairly big challenge here, and if it's not explained, it can be left as a negative thing, is the word overcome. Because instantly within our fallen minds, within our fallen beings, we would say, well, what happens if I don't overcome? Does that mean I fail? That's the old religion, that, you didn't have enough brownie points. I don't believe that's the case. I don't believe that is the actions and the attitude of a loving God. And the example that I take for that is the story of the minas, or the talents. The parable that Christ usually talks about this great king who was going away to take forward another kingdom, and he turned around to one servant and said, there's 10 talents or 10 minas, work them. There's another talent, or another servant, he says, there's 3 minas, you make them work. And he said to the third one, there's 1 talent, away you go. And when we look at that story, most of us, whenever we're reading through it, we'll go, I don't know if your boy didn't do very well today. But I think we're missing the point if that's the case, because when the king came back, and the king's obviously representing God, coming back to his servants, which is us, the one who he gave 10 to managed to do something with it and produce another 10. And we all look at the other 10 and go, great result. When we look at the other guy who got 3 or 5, great result. And we look at the boy who didn't bother himself to do anything, we're like, waster. But I believe the point within that parable is that if that was written in Belfast, okay, and the story was about someone in Belfast, I believe that the way that would have been written would have been, he came back to the one who got the 10 and went, good effort. The one who got 3, good effort. He wouldn't worry about the results. I believe it's the devil that looks at the results. God looks at the effort. If the result isn't good enough, and let's be blunt about it, we'll all fall short of getting a good enough result to deserve our way to heaven, so we accept that straight away. Don't concentrate on the results, concentrate on the effort. Make an effort. I believe that's where this is coming from. What he's saying is, listen, if you can overcome your carnal nature, if you can make an about turn and say, right, I'm going to work towards opening up that spiritual blood vein, you've overcome yourself. And I believe that's what that actually refers to. It's not a question of you've achieved and you collide at the top of the mountain and you're standing there with your flag going, right, I've made it, giving me praise. I genuinely don't believe that is the case. I believe it is a case of God's turning and saying, listen, turn away from what your heart and your body wants to do and say, no, I'm going this way, I'm following the way the Lord wants me to go. I believe that's the overcome. And if that is the case, if you repent of your natural human nature, the one that you have to educate yourself out of, I believe the promise of Christ in the Revelation is that you will not be hurt by the second death. Because Christ himself didn't experience the second death, he didn't experience the human death, that humanness of Christ himself. 3:18, please. We're nearly done. I counsel you to buy from me gold refined in the fire, gold, symbol of richness and purity at the same time, symbol of testing, and tested open in the fire, but buy from me. And this thing is, the word here that I think is important, is buy. When you buy something, what do? You give over something of value that you already own for something that you don't already have. And I think this is critical. This is part of something people miss. They sort of, actually, I'll turn up on Sundays, or I'll go to Bible class, or I'll throw money in the box in the petrol station because I can't be bothered carrying over 2s and 1p's about the place. Sure, that's grand. I think you're missing the point. I counsel you to buy from me, give over something of worth from you to get something of bigger worth from God. And what he's given you is gold, tested in fire and refined, that you may be rich in soul, rich in your heart. In other words, you've opened up a little bit of yourself and let the Spirit in. Can you go on then, please, down to 3:20? So moving on from the human Christ, and showing you an example, saying this, if you can expand and allow more of the Holy Spirit to flow through you, you will achieve so much more, but it's going to require you to give up a little bit of yourself. A little bit of what you think you're holding dear to, a little bit of what you think is valuable, but it's not. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. And this is really, I know there's a lovely portrait or picture you've seen of the Christ standing, knocking at the door. But there's, again, we have that nice image of, well, Christ knocks at the door. We know that he's constantly looking for people. Hopefully not going, hello, I'm over here. Constantly putting out his word to you and saying, come on. In other words, ding dong. Yeah, hello. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, there's the verb in again, the verb within yourself. That it opens the door up and says, whatever was valuable in my house is yours. And gives of himself. That's where I believe that comes from. Open the door to Christ. He's not going to come up with an enforcer. Well, right, I'm here, you're mine, out, you can stay. It doesn't work that way. He gives you the choice of whether you answer that door or whether you don't. I will come into him and dine with him. Now again, if you go back to the culture that was at the time, that Jewish culture, to share a meal with someone was the leveler of the playing field. It was an acceptance and an esteem of the person who you were dining with. Because anyone else in the street, you threw food to them. But to sit down at the table with someone and dine with them was a real esteem, it was a real acceptance and a real respectful privilege. And Christ is going to sit down with us with respectful privilege to us. Should it not be the other way around? But what he's telling you is, if you open the door, if you open that channel, if you let my Spirit in, if you try and work through my Spirit the way I have shown you to do whenever I was there, I'm leveling the playing field. It goes back to what Gary has mentioned in the past about being kings and princes and priests within the kingdom of heaven. We will be esteemed. But we will set such an example for the people around us at the same time. Whereby that light that we'll talk about should shine from within us. Not because we're trying to light a fire, but because we're saying that whatever happens is going to happen. Jesus at the centre, if I put you at the centre, all those fires, all those lights will do their own thing because you'll be controlling them. Your Spirit flowing through me will allow those things to take care of themselves. We don't need to make that effort. All we need to do is to follow the example of Christ, buy from him, give of ourselves, in other words, give up of ourselves, and buy from him something which is far more valuable than the meagre coins which we can throw across at him. So it goes back to the story of the meanest. Open the door. In other words, guys, make an effort. God doesn't expect you to produce fabulous results. He will most certainly rejoice if the results are there and you can work towards it. But He's saying to you guys, just make an effort. Because once you make an effort, once you turn that around, you're starting to open the tap and let that water flow. Not just trickle, but let it flow. But turn the tap. The water's already in the system, but unless you turn the tap, it ain't coming out of that hose. So He's saying is, turn the tap as much as you can for what you're able to do, because I'll never, this is the thing with that yoke, He will never put that yoke on you that is too heavy for you to carry. You'll always be able to carry it, but you've got to trust that that yoke is carried by Christ Himself. He will guide and He will direct you. So make an effort, guys. Put yourself second. Open yourself up a little bit. Let the Holy Spirit work through you. But again, that part of it is the conscious bit, because that's you buying, that's you giving of yourself, that's you turning around and saying, right, you know what, I'm going to not watch the TV because I want to spend a bit of time saying, Lord, take what's yours, and just opening yourself up from within your own heart, opening up your spirit to absorb more of His. Amen.